Welcome to A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. This is the place to be for stories to inspire and uplift when life doesn't go according to our plans. I'm Laura Muirhead, your host and the reigning queen of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. I can't wait to share the plot twist stories of my guests that will inspire and uplift you when life didn't follow the plan, right here on A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life podcast. Hello and welcome to this episode of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. I'm Laura Muirhead, and I am so happy to welcome today Sam Youngz to the podcast. So Sam, come and introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you do and where you are in the world.
Great. Yes, thank you, Laura, for having me on your podcast. Really looking forward to our chat today. So yes, thank you. My name is Sam Youngz, and I'm a energy and emotion practitioner. So I help women who've experienced stress, unhappy childhoods, break out of the patterns from that childhood, and release the pain. I use an integration of energetic therapies and spiritual tools. Oh, you said where am I? So yeah, I'm in the UK, in Shropshire in the UK.
Wonderful, thanks. I mean that work, it has to be so important in this world too. I mean, so many of us have had experiences like that in our childhood. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it comes from my own experiences. Many practitioners are sharing what's helped them in the world. So yeah, it comes from my own experience and how what happened in childhood has followed into adulthood.
Yeah, thank you so much. So you have a funny thing happened on the Way to My Life experience that you're going to share with us today. So tell me about that.
Yeah, well, there's quite a few experiences, but the experience I'm going to share today is actually about a spiritual retreat I won to Egypt in 2019, and there was a lot of things that happened on the way there, to say the least, and during. Yeah.
So you won it. How did you come to win it?
Well, okay. So if we go right, so one of the therapies I do is crystal therapy. So I have regular crystal therapy sessions myself. And for about 6 months in 2018, my therapist kept saying to me, Egypt keeps, I keep getting the word Egypt for you. And I was like, oh no, that gives me the heebie-jeebies. I had this, this thing for years about, it gives me the creeps. Egypt, just think about it. Indication of past lives, and that was the heebie-jeebies. I was like, I don't know what. I really don't know why you're getting that, because that's not even in my field of thought that I'm conscious of. And she said, and I keep being shown a 6-pointed star. I love stars, so I was like, I'll take that. I love stars, yeah. So it was actually during a very traumatic period of my life that this was going on. And the story goes in back further than 2018. I was on a mailing list of a lady who had got a holistic training centre for about a decade, but life events meant that I'd never actually got to go and do training with her. And I had an email come through, and she was doing a competition for the retreats that she does regularly to Egypt. So I entered it in about, I think it was probably August 2018, and then forgot all about it. Just went. And then I was sat in December 2018 in a cafe having a hot chocolate with a friend, and I had this message come through, you've won.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, what the hell? And it was actually leaving in the January 2019.
Wow. So you just had a couple weeks to prepare for a trip. And how long was the trip?
The trip was, I think it was 10, 11 days, but because of flights, I went for 9.
Sure.
yeah, I couldn't work out the flights and stuff. So yeah, it was 9 that I was there, but yeah, it was a 11 days.
I love that you forgot about it, because I feel like that just made it extra like, oh, here I go to Egypt. And on the tails of hearing that there's something with Egypt popping up all this time.
I couldn't believe it when I got it. The friend I was with is another holistic therapist. So like, I told her the story of what had been going on for the last few months. Like, he'd been told Egypt. I said, like, I literally can't believe this. And then when I got home, like, rang the crystal therapist, who's now my friend, and I was like, you are not going to believe what's just happened.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Yes. I love it. What a great story. I mean, it's already a great story, and we didn't get to the story.
No.
So what did you do? Like, here you are now, you have to kind of, maybe, did you have to rush a little bit and prepare and get everything together?
Yeah, as I say, it was a very difficult period in my life. So, you know, when I look back now, it came, you know, the universe delivered that to me when I needed it the most. And there were other things that happened around that time that I was, the universe was delivering. So yeah, it was a bit mental, really, because I was like, oh my God, I've got to book flights, I've got to get someone to look after my dog. So it was like, I'm not even thinking about this. It was just like, bam, 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 got to sort this out and go. So yeah, it was an early morning flight. So it was in January, very dark morning. So it was a very early morning car ride. And as I was about to leave, actually the necklace I'm wearing now, which is my nan's necklace, just snapped.
So this is a necklace that you got from your grandmother.
Yeah, who's no longer with us. Yeah.
And it just broke.
Just broke as I was going to walk out the front door. It snapped.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I was like, oh no, this isn't, because I was really, really nervous, because I did have this, as I called it, the heebie-jeebies. I was really nervous, and I wasn't in a good place myself, if you see what I mean. So I was just like, oh my God, this is a bad omen. Like, I can't go, you know. And I was like having a bit of, I'm not going.
Yeah. And yeah, I can imagine that rattled you a bit. Like it's probably a necklace that you wear all the time, that you really, you know, have it as a whatever you want to call it, a protector, or, you know, definitely a reminder, but probably even more than that.
Yeah.
So did you take it with you anyway? No, you left it home? No,
I left it at home because I just thought I didn't want to lose it. You know, when it's broken, it was more chance of losing it. So yeah, I just left it here.
So you were out the door anyway. You just, despite that, and feeling not great. Yeah, you're out the door and off to the airport.
Yeah. So driving along, I'm not a lover of driving in the dark anyway. Missed a turn in for the motorway exit for the airport, and I was just like on the hard shoulder, and I was like, oh no. And again, I was like, I'm just going home. I literally can't do this. I have travelled on my own before. That wasn't an issue. Yeah, I've travelled across the world. So yeah, it was nerve-wracking. So yeah, that was sort of the getting to the airport issues. But yeah, got there on the flight and took off, and that was that until we got to the other side.
So the flight was okay, and then you land in Egypt, and so what happens then?
So in Egypt, if you're a tourist, they have a curfew that tourists aren't allowed to move around after 6 p.m. So I knew this, and the lady who does the retreats has been doing them years, so she's well connected, shall we say. So when I got there, landed, the captain warned us there was a massive sandstorm going on.
Oh my goodness.
So when they opened the actual plane door, it was just like, oh my God, you can't see in front of your hand here. It was awful. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, get off, go through customs, etc. So once I got through customs, got my bag and everything, turned my phone on, text the lady to say that I had landed, and it was actually I had to travel across desert because I landed on the coast, but I was going to Luxor, which is inland, which is it was about a 3-hour journey, and it was straddling this curfew time. So anyway, because of the sandstorm, the driver that had been sent to pick me up was late. So I was like, everyone was getting on these like chartered, organised trips, and obviously mine was an independent thing. And I was like the last person sat outside this airport, a bit concerned because there can be unrest there. It was dark, but I left in the dark and then arrived in the dark the other side. So yeah, it was a bit. It was a bit unnerving. Let's just say I wasn't comfortable. So it came back. Yeah, he is on his way, but because of the sandstorm in the desert and everything, it's a bit dicey out there. So because
the sandstorm, did it go on? I mean, how long did the sandstorm go on then?
Well, I'm not sure how long it went on there, but by the time when we did make it to Luxor, we'd gone through that sandstorm. It didn't go all the way to Luxor. It was just part of the deserts. So yeah, so he was late, and then I get a text message from this lady again who I never met saying, the driver may ask you to get out of the front seat, get into the back, lie down under a blanket, and don't move.
Oh my goodness.
And I was just like, what the hell is going on? Because we were traveling through the curfew, and a tourist isn't allowed to be on the road.
Oh
and
my
they
gosh.
have checkpoints. They have checkpoints with guards and everything.
Were you terrified?
I was absolutely bricking it. I was absolutely terrified.
I mean, it's not enough that you're at night in a strange country in a sandstorm, and now cover yourself up. I mean, what are the chances that they'll even check the car and check under the blanket? And I mean, do they do that?
They do that, and if I had been found, they would have just told, because they armed, they've got guns. They would have just told him to turn around and go back.
But they would have just told you to go back.
That
you wouldn't necessarily have been arrested or anything.
Well, I hope not. But I mean, I didn't really know that at the time. But yeah, I didn't really know what would happen. So it's pitch black across this desert. They've built one road through this desert. So when we were coming up to checkpoints, it was literally pull to the side of the road, get out in the pitch black, because you have to turn the lights off, not to sort of think, well, what's that car stopped for, because it's pitch black. You can see lights from ages away, and keep getting in the back.
My goodness.
Yeah, it was scary.
So you rode in the back under the blanket for a couple of hours then?
No, when we were through different checkpoints, I would get back out.
Oh, you would get back out.
Yeah, so he didn't make me lie there for 3 hours, but it was like in and out. But it was crazy because this may sound, I just found this quite bizarre and funny. It's pitch black in this desert, which drive across, but they drive with no lights on, generally.
Okay.
Because they think it saves them fuel.
Oh, okay.
And literally, you would be going in this pitch black thing, and then all of a sudden these lights would like flip on and horns beeping and that, because they don't even drive on the side of the road they're meant to drive on. It was like a Formula One racing track. It was bonkers.
I can't even imagine. It sounds really crazy. if the lights were, if they were to turn the lights on in the sandstorm, would they be able to see better, or would they really not? You know how sometimes when it's foggy and you turn your lights on, it's kind of like, well, what's the point?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, they wouldn't be able to see, but I learned that was normal for them to not to drive with lights on anyway. This notion that they think it's going to save them.
It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter that in the dark, they just don't put their lights on.
No, and they've got these like, I guess you'd call them Egyptian service stations along the way. So we stopped at one, and he said, I need a lot of coffee. And I was like, oh my God, you know, why? And he hadn't slept. So I was just like, this is just getting worse and worse. And he said, do you want to get out and go to the loo? And I was like, hell no, I don't know where I am. There's no other female here. I could just see men. I was like, I'll hold it until we get to Luxor.
Oh my goodness. So your trip is off to a really great start. I mean, you're really hitting all the high notes on this one.
Yeah. It wasn't filling me with confidence, I can tell you that much.
My goodness. But obviously you stayed. So once you got there, I mean, well, just continue. You go ahead and
okay. So when we made it to Luxor, when I made it to Luxor, because I was a lot later than I should have been, it had been planned that I was going to have dinner with the host and some other co-hosts that were there, because I had actually flown in the day before it started because of my flights. That was so I was actually first one to arrive, but because we were late, it gone past dinner time. So yeah, we another thing actually, which I didn't know until the morning after, where we were meant to be staying had cancelled. So where I thought I was going wasn't where I ended up.
My goodness.
So yeah, and we pulled up, absolutely exhausted. I was hanging by that point. Get out. It was a really bright moon, and I got out, and I was just like, "What? Where the hell are we?" And we were actually right outside one of the temples.
Wow.
On the west bank of Luxor, and I was just like, "Wow!" Like I was just blown away. I was just, and the energy was phenomenal. So I was just like, wow, where are we? Like, where is this place? And then like he had told me on the way, oh, you're not going so there, you're going here. I was like, oh, okay. And as I turned round from admiring the moon and the temple, on the front door of the house we were staying in was a 6-pointed star.
Oh my goodness.
And I just like, I'm really trying hard not to swear actually, but I did swear a lot. I was like, oh my God. Okay, I'm in Egypt and that's the 6-pointed star.
And that's the new place, not the that was the place that you didn't think you were going to end up staying and had the star. So yeah, you are definitely, on track where you need to be. Did that make you, did that give you a little bit more confidence that you were?
Yeah, it was just, it was definitely a sign, to say the least. But I was just like, I was blown away, to be quite honest. I was so exhausted by that point and just so happy to have made it, because at one point I thought I'm never going to get there. I was just exhausted. So the one of our Egyptian guides called round, because they'd been ringing each other to say where we were and stuff. Like in in Thailand, but anyway, they have them there, and he pulled round with this little motorbike with this little thing on the back that you could sit in, and then they took me into the house. So say I was the only one there, and it was about 9:45 Egyptian time by that time, and I'd left my house at like 4 a.m, so I was really knackered. So and I was, we laugh about this now, but at the time, I don't even know what face I pulled. So yeah, he pulled up and he said, you know, it's gone past dinner, blah 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 blah. I'll get some sleep. And he handed me a baguette in one hand, so a baguette with some cheese and stuff to eat. That, you know, eat this tonight. And in the other hand was toilet roll.
Oh my goodness.
They just like were like this at me. Here you go. See you in the morning. And they were gone.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, well, where's hold on, where's everyone? I thought we were all staying together. And they're like, no, we've had to split the hosts and the guests because we can't, that other house cancelled. So I was just left in this house on my own.
There was no one there but you.
No.
Oh
Once
my
they'd
goodness.
gone, that was it. I was there.
Oh my goodness. So I would imagine without all the extras, you would have been exhausted. Just if everything had gone smoothly, you would be exhausted. But then when you add in the stress of once you landed and and the drive, and then I can only imagine hungry, like you said, you know, hungry, exhausted, stressed, and here's your dinner and some toiletries,
Yeah.
just in case you need it. And you're on your own in Egypt in a house.
Yeah.
How'd you feel at that point?
I was like, oh, what the hell are you doing here? You should have just stayed at home.
Did
You had the signs to stay at home.
Did you sleep at all that night? Were you able to sleep and rest at all?
I didn't sleep the whole time I was there.
Oh, my
No.
goodness. Wow.
No, the energy, because we're on the temple site, it was like I had been plugged into something. And the experiences I had, just say a lot of past lives came back to visit.
Wow.
It was, yeah, life-changing. But no, I really needed sleep, but Egypt did not let me sleep.
So not even the first night with not even a little rest.
No, just like dropping on and off, but generally it was like I was plugged into something that I can't even really describe to you. I'd asked for a ground floor because of mobility issues. What I didn't realise though, the Egyptian houses, because of the heat and that, they spend most of the time on the roof. So even though I'd asked for the ground floor, I had lots of flights of stairs to get onto the roof terrace, which I did that first night. I just went up and sat and looked at this temple for quite a long time actually, because I couldn't like grasp that I was actually sitting looking out at this temple, and we were just like on the grounds of it. Yeah, it was, and I've also actually, that's just come back to it. I've had this sort of fear of domes. Like if you see a parachute on a TV or something, and they do like a camera shot to look up, I've always had this sort of uneasiness. It fills me with dread when I have to shut my eyes. And then when we walked into this house and I walked into the bedroom after they'd left, I looked up and all the ceilings of domes.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, this is where it comes from.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just so many things that, yeah, just a lot of things came up that time there that yeah.
So while you were on this retreat, was it more, I mean, was it, I don't know, was it that type of retreat to work through those things? I mean, were they there to help you, deal with these things? And did you have an idea before you left that some things might, I mean, did you even have time to think about that? Did you just were like packed it off and ready to go? And
no, I didn't have time to think. As I say, I've just always had this, when I've seen Egyptian things or like Egyptian symbols and that, it's always made me feel uneasy. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's just like, oh no. Now, I'd love to live there now, but I think it was just obviously the past life stuff that I wasn't aware of. Was that uneasiness? But no, yeah, definitely. I mean, the retreat was a sort of divine feminine retreat. We were in Luxor, so it was about going around the different sacred sites and temples. We went to the Valley of Kings. We went up to other sites and temples north of Luxor that were mind blowing, where they said there's like stargates and stuff at Abydos. My favourite temple, which is out of Luxor, was Dendera, and that's got the astrological ceiling on the top. That place, every temple we went into, something happened.
Wow.
For one of us. So, we all had a different connection to different places. But yeah, it was like I was plugged in. And when I left, actually, when we were driving back to the airport on the coast, I actually could feel that energy leaving me.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to go back one day.
Yeah. So can you tell us about some of the experiences you did have in some of the temples and some of the sites that you saw?
Yeah, so one of the actually the one Abydos, which was the furthest north one we went to, which has got the seed of life hieroglyphic on, which is out the back. And if you don't know where it is, you would never find it. But obviously this lady knew where it was. In there, it had in the actual temple itself, it's got 7 like chambers for the 7 chakras, and it's on a bit of a slant, and you could really feel the energy. Each one you went into, you could really tell which was the base and which was the crown. And in the crown one, when we took photos, it was just the energy fields around all of us and the auras, and it was just amazing. But yeah, when we went out to try and look at the flower, the seed of life hieroglyphic, it was all closed off, and you couldn't get down because it's down in the floor part of the temple. And where she had been able to do that in the past, we weren't allowed to go down there, and it was just really, really strange. And she said, it is said that it is a known Stargate portal here, and that's what they said. And she couldn't take us down to where it's meant to be, which was near there. But then it was like we were in a movie, because it was literally like Men in Black turned up. Yeah. So there was Egyptians obviously running the temples, and they have guardians in each temple who guard the temple, and are sacred and can tell you some things. But it was a very, very hostile energy there, very masculine, and it was like they just wanted to keep us away from whatever was, to see the seed of life. And then when we were out the back, it was 1 or 2 men came, and they were literally Men in Black. They didn't look Egyptian. They were in full black suits, which just looked bizarre in itself, with headsets on, and literally just trying to get us away.
Wow.
Yeah. So what she was telling us from her previous trips, it was like, okay, there is like literally something weird going on here that they're trying to protect, but protect in a way like you're not allowed to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, was there something going on as far as, well, you probably don't know, but it just makes me think like, was there something, like full moon or something at that time, or an astrological, as event happening at that time, or because she'd been allowed to show other people that, correct?
Yeah, she'd been going for decades, but I guess with climate change and that, there used to be water in this sort of sunken bit of the temple, and there wasn't anything. And she's like, I've never ever seen it like this before. So yeah, it was just strange. It was strange, and particularly when say that it was literally like Men in Black turned up.
So crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So we were like, ah. So we did actually get a young Egyptian male to go down because he was allowed to take a picture of that flower seed of life, the original, for us. And then we left.
So they just weren't allowing women down there, or
Oh
tourists.
no, they did. As we were leaving, we were going back down the tunnel, back into the main temple. Because out the back, because obviously it was more of a ruin, whereas the main temple still had the roof on. There was a lady. I don't know if she was a local lady, but she obviously knew or had something to do or had a contact. I don't know, but she actually went and spoke to these Men in Black, and they actually led her down there. So it was all just very odd.
Yeah, sounds like it, for some reason, the tourists weren't allowed, or the groups or something.
Yeah.
But at least you had the pictures, which is nice.
We did, but then they got lost. So we haven't got it anymore.
They got lost.
Yeah, on tech, an IT issue, they got wiped off. Yeah.
Well, there was something that you weren't meant to have it.
Yeah.
You weren't meant to go in there for whatever reason, and you weren't meant to have it, right? That's so interesting. And then, so every temple, you said every temple that you visited, you had different experiences. And and that was what, like 7 days of visiting temples?
Yeah.
So you had
temples, and one day was more. Oh no, we did go and visit one temple that morning, but we spent quite a few hours at the Valley of Kings.
So you just must have had one experience after another, after another, after another. And were you, I mean, how were you handling that as they're coming, and especially if you're not sleeping and being able to rest, are you able to kind of, I don't know what the word is, even, to absorb it and to like bring it into your energy and I don't know, tell me how you dealt with all of that.
We were obviously supported by the people running, the lady and the other people running there. It felt amazing. That's all I can explain. Like I said to you, I felt like being, even though it's really weird and quite at times uncomfortable things that were happening. But on the other hand, it was also, say, it's just like I'd been plugged into this source that like the Duracell bunny or whatever. It was just like I could keep going. And it was like everything health-wise just was like halted for those 9 days. Because the lady said to me, I thought you said this and this. I said, well, no, that is true. I said, but here it's just like everything's gone. And I say to you, when we were driving back to the airport, I literally felt that being plugged in, going.
Yeah.
The further we got away from Luxor, the heavier I could feel the energy was getting back on me, like normal. normal life, as we say.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So how has that experience overall affected, did it affect you once you got home? Did things change for you?
Yeah, so I mean, there was a lot of reflection and integration. And Deb had said that, what you've just experienced, it is going to keep integrating within you for, the next few weeks. Be kind to yourself, and obviously get in touch if weird things happen, or more weird than normal. So yeah, it was, when I'm talking about it now, I'm just like, I know it happened because it happened to me. But at the same time, when I tell people the story, they're just like, that doesn't even sound like believable. Yeah, it's just, it made, it definitely helped me, I guess, integrate parts of me that I didn't really understand, but then made total sense by visiting the past lives. And, when we're in some of the temples, the guardians were obviously really gifted and insightful, and that, and, would sort of just come up to you and say something quite profound. And it's like, how do they know that? Is there anyone else they're talking to? No, it's you. Their English wasn't that good. It was, how did it help me? It was just, it made me realize, because at that time in life, I'd say it was a really traumatic time, and I felt really alone, but it made me realize that I wasn't alone, and I was being cared for by higher sources that had come back to connect with me.
That's beautiful, really beautiful. Once you got home, now you had mentioned that before you left, you were having some struggles. Did it help you navigate through those a little better, once you were home, and I don't know, did it hit you like, oh, I'm back, here's everything back in my lap again? Or did things, change for the better? I besides integrating things, did those integrations help your situation change from what it was before you left as well? If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it does make sense, and it's quite hard. It's quite hard for me to put into words, really. I think it was just so profound experience that it's quite hard for me to put into words of what it's done, but it's definitely helped me understand myself better, and also family, and deepen that connection to I guess whatever you want to call it, intuition, it's like, whatever you want to call it, definitely helped me, I guess, I'd close that down. Yeah, I'd close that down. I've sort of dipped in and out of spiritual and stuff, so it definitely opened that wide open again for me, and allowed me to not be hidden, I guess, to be able to be more me, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and be more visible. It's work in progress, as we all are, but it definitely cracked something wide open that I'd locked down.
I love that, and especially for you to embrace yourself more, like really embrace. Did it change the work that you do at all, as far as being either more open about it, or more forward about it, or how you conduct your work at all?
Yeah, definitely. And what it has done has also opened up pathways to connecting with, um, for the phrase, like-minded souls. Yeah, it definitely opened that up and allowed me not to, but to say, hide that. I think everyone has um, weird encounters in life. Not everyone will go around and tell everyone about it, and then others will have more because they're more open to it or more aware, and others are completely shut down and don't realize, and not looking for the signs. But it definitely helped me, say, crack that open and opened up connecting with people and talking about it more freely with people who I probably wouldn't have normally. And yeah, not being afraid to, well, the woo woo, whatever you want to call it, of showing that side of me, because I had been very cautious throughout life, really, and say dip toes in and out. So yeah, it was definitely one of the major things that allowed me onto my own healing journey from what big life stuff was going on in the human life.
Well, and that's when you said that there are people who maybe wouldn't believe that it happened, but obviously it did. I think that's, clearly it was an experience that you had. So even for the people who maybe don't want to accept like you said, the woo or the spiritual part of it, at the very least, they can accept that you went, you had these experiences, you saw the temples, and maybe for them, just hearing that part of it is a beautiful story. It's maybe that's as much as they can accept of your story. And then other people who can accept, the different part of it, um, the more spiritual side of it, the more intuition that you've gained and all of that, then those people can love your story on that deeper level as well.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I'm doing this podcast with you, but actually, there's only 5 people in the world who even know I went.
No. Well, more people will know now.
Yeah, it was. I didn't tell. So there was only 5 people. The dog sitter, and then my nearest and closest friends. So yeah, and since then, not many. I've not told many people because it was a very personal sort of pilgrimage, even though I didn't know that at the time. And it was very personal, so I didn't really go around shouting about it. But where it just felt the right time to say, I mean, I do keep thinking I could write numerous books about what happened then. I probably will do one day, write a book about it all. But yeah, so well, people are definitely going to know now. But
Cat's out of the bag now.
yeah,
But and that's it. Like, I can understand that in a way. I mean, for one thing, like, I'm glad you told a few people you were going, since you were in case something did happen. Obviously it didn't, but especially when you were first there and thinking, oh my goodness, what is this about? But I think that you did honor that it was a personal and took time to integrate it, and maybe now is the time that you're ready to tell other people about it for whatever reason, and they can be inspired. I know there's a lot of people, so we know each other in some Facebook groups, and a lot of, like you said, like-minded people in there, and people who embrace the intuitive side of things. And I I hear a lot of talk in that circle of going on retreats to Egypt, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of like you, where I'm like how you were originally,
Yeah.
of like, no, all these other people are like, yeah, I can't wait to go to Egypt. Oh yes, that would be fabulous. And I'm kind of like, I don't know about that. So, even though I know there are, the beautiful pyramids and the temples and all these things there that I'm sure are incredible, every time I hear that, someone's maybe thinking of putting together a retreat, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. So I think that's really interesting. I can really relate to that part of your story but at the same time, there was something in you that said, let me try to win it.
Yeah, and I completely forgot about it. I guess I was like, I've got no chance. It was just like, oh, I'll fill in this online form. And I think because I had so much going on personally, it's why it just went. And even when I filled in that form, I still hadn't clicked about Ange keep coming up with Egypt and this 6-pointed star. So yeah, it was obviously meant to be. It was obviously meant to be, and it's definitely helped in my work with the energy therapies that I do. Deepen that connection to the source, to bring down to the client. But yeah, it's we didn't get, because Luxor and Cairo are a long way apart. So yeah, I definitely hope to visit the pyramids.
So those are different. They're two different. So this is how much I know about Egypt, right? So the pyramids are not necessarily in the same area that you were
No,
visiting.
no,
Oh,
they're along, like it either have to do like an overnight train or fly.
okay.
Actually, the driver who we had for the whole trip, who'd come to get me from the airport, he kept saying to me, there's from Luxor, so Cairo's north, um, and at the bottom is a place called Aswan Dam, and which has got further burial sites, and well, they're across Egypt, across the desert stuff. But he kept saying to me, "You need to go to Aswan. You need to go to Aswan." So I need to go there as well at some point. But it to do all of that, you need more than a week.
So this just kind of feeds into what you were saying about the people being really insightful and him. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like it was more than just a tourist, him promoting it as a tourist site to you. Oh, you should, check it out sometime. It sounds like he was being insightful when he told you to visit.
Yeah, no, but he kept saying, you definitely need to go. And where he'd driven me across the air, across the desert, when I landed, um, the temple that three of us had really called to go to, which was Dendera, because there's roadblocks and the army on the roads and stuff. We again had to take a back road route across the country because we were going to be out after 6 again. So that was another, it was like we had detours every day. It was like this detour happened and we were like going off, and we had to like draw the curtains on the minibus, and then at times the armed forces will come and you have to follow them. You have to do as they say, and they stay with you for a bit because there is unrest in the country, and there are groups that are extremists still. So when we were there was a bomb went off in Cairo.
My goodness.
So they are. Actually, I was really, really impressed of how they did, for a better word, police the streets. yeah, it can seem a bit extreme. You know, you're not allowed out after 6, or you're not allowed to travel after 6. You're allowed to go to restaurants and that. But I was, while it's quite dominant and in your face, I was also impressed at what some of the systems they did have in place to keep people safe.
Yeah.
So, and that was one of my concerns about going. And you say, like, I didn't tell that many people that I was going, but the people I did tell, I'd redone my will, told them if anything happens to me, do this, that, and the other. That's how uneasy I was about it.
Yeah.
Now,
And
I'd not at all. I'd live there.
yeah. Well, yeah, you had such an incredible experience.
Yeah.
Now, did you end up staying in that same house the whole time, the one with the star?
Yeah.
And did other people eventually come and join you in that house?
Yes, there was 3 of us in that house. So there was me on the bottom floor, and then the other 2 on the middle floor, and then the top floor was the roof.
That sounds
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And do you have strong connections with the people that were on the retreat with you?
Yeah, it's, you know, something like that. Generally, everyone's got something going on, you know. So we all had sort of some personal stuff, heavy personal stuff that we were working through. But no, it was a really strong connection. You know, we're still connected now, but yeah, it was like meeting people you'd known forever.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What an incredible trip and experience. And is there anything else that you would like to share about it?
No, I don't think so. I think I've no, I don't. I think that's it. I could talk for about another 4 hours, so I think that, yeah.
Yeah, I think we could. I mean, because I'd love to hear like more detail about the temples, each temple. But
Yeah.
yeah, that would have to be a mini series maybe.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, tell our listeners where they can find you on social media, or you know, what's the best place
Okay,
to.
yeah. So my main social media platforms are Facebook and Twitter. And I use my full name for my professional services, which is actually Ruby Sam Youngz, Youngz with a Z. So yeah, just at Ruby Sam Youngz, and that will bring up the pages.
So Ruby Sam Youngz, I put
Yeah.
those, it'll be in the show notes
Oh,
as
okay,
well.
cool. Thank you.
But just to let people know, do you have a website, or you just mostly social media?
Mostly social media.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Facebook and Twitter. So, well, what an incredible story. I love this. And I love that it was transformational for you and helpful. And that I think it's beautiful to be able to embrace your intuition and those things as well, because I think so many of us do question that, or maybe suppress it a little bit. And
Yeah.
like, I feel like, at least listening to you, that this story, there is no denying, you can't deny it. So you might as well embrace it and share it. So I would like to thank you again for joining me today, and thank all of our listeners who joined us as well. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thank you, Laura. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life podcast. For more information, visit my website at www.lauramuirhead.com.